The cargo ship Dawn Runner moved slowly through the empty space between stars. It carried 52 humans, all of them colonists traveling to a new world called Haven. They were farmers, teachers, doctors, and engineers. Simple people looking for a simple life on a distant planet. Junho Kang stood at the observation window, watching the stars drift by. He was 34 years old, with short black hair and calm eyes that had seen too much. Before becoming a colonist, he had spent 12 years in Earth's military, teaching soldiers how to survive in the worst places imaginable. Jungles, deserts, frozen wastelands. He had lived through them all. His sister Minji sat nearby, reading from a tablet. She was younger than him by 5 years, with a quick smile and an even quicker mind. She was a biologist, fascinated by alien life forms. This trip was supposed to be the beginning of her dream studying the creatures of a new world. Neither of them knew that their dream was about to become a nightmare. The attack came without warning. One moment, the Dawn Runner was cruising peacefully. The next, massive ships surrounded them, blocking every escape route. The vessels were unlike anything humans had seen before, black metal covered in strange symbols, decorated with bones and skulls from creatures across the galaxy. The Vorn had arrived. Captain Yuno Lee tried to send a distress signal, but the aliens jammed all communications. She tried to run, but their engines were disabled within seconds. She tried to fight, but the Dawn Runner was a cargo ship, not a warship. It carried no weapons. Within an hour, the Vorn boarding parties had taken control. The aliens were terrifying to look at. They stood over 2 meters tall, with gray skin stretched over thick muscles. Their heads were long and narrow, with 4 yellow eyes that never seemed to blink. Their hands ended in claws that could tear through metal, but the most frightening thing about them was their confidence. They moved through the human ship like they owned it, touching everything, examining everything, laughing at what they found. The humans were gathered in the cargo hold. 52 people, from the oldest, a 60-year-old farmer named Dongwoo Park, to the youngest, a 12-year-old girl named Han who clung to her mother's hand. The Vorn leader entered the hold. He was larger than the others, wearing armor made from the bones of his victims. A necklace of skulls hung around his neck. Small skulls, large skulls, skulls with horns and tusks and fangs. Each one represented a species he had hunted and killed. His name was Kreeth, and he was the most famous hunter in the galaxy. "Humans," he said. His voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. "I have heard stories about your kind. You spread across the stars like insects. You build your little colonies and pretend you matter." He walked among the prisoners, examining them the way a butcher examines meat. "But you are weak. You have no claws." He held up his own hand, flexing his razor-sharp talons. "You have no fangs." He opened his mouth, revealing rows of pointed teeth. "You have no armor, no poison, no natural weapons of any kind." He stopped in front of Junho. Their eyes met. Kreeth saw a human who did not look afraid. This amused him. "You carry tools," Kreeth continued. "Guns, blades, machines that do your fighting for you. Without them, you are nothing. Just soft meat waiting to be eaten." He turned to his hunters. "Take their weapons. Take everything. Let us see what humans truly are when they have nothing but their weak bodies." The Vorn searched the ship from top to bottom. They took every gun, every knife, every sharp object. They took tools and equipment. They even took the kitchen knives. When they were done, the humans had nothing left. Kreeth examined the pile of confiscated weapons. Human guns, human blades, human tools. He picked up a rifle, looked at it, and laughed. "This is what you use to survive? This is what makes you feel safe." He crushed the rifle in his hands like it was made of paper. "Pathetic." He threw the broken weapon aside and turned back to the humans. Here is what will happen. You will be taken to a planet called Thornwood. It is a jungle world, full of dangerous creatures. You will be released there with nothing. No weapons, no tools, no food, nothing. The humans murmured in fear. Some began to cry. You will have 1 day to run and hide. After that, my hunters will come for you. We will track you through the jungle. We will find you wherever you go. And when we catch you, we will add your skulls to our collection. He smiled, showing all his teeth. This is the greatest honor we can give you. To be hunted by the Vorn. Your deaths will be remembered. Your skulls will be displayed for all to see. You should thank us. No one thanked him. Kreith turned and walked toward the door. At the entrance, he stopped and looked back at Junho. You, the one with the calm eyes. I will hunt you personally. I want to see how long you last before you break. Junho said nothing. He simply stared back at the alien hunter, his face showing no emotion. When the Vorn were gone, Minji moved close to her brother. What do we do? She whispered. We have nothing. How can we fight them? Junho looked at the other colonists. They were scared, crying, holding each other. They thought they were already dead. He thought of something different. They made a mistake, he said quietly. They think we're weak because we use tools. They think taking our weapons makes us helpless. He looked at his hands. Hands that had built shelters in frozen wastelands. Hands that had made fire from nothing. Hands that had created weapons from sticks and stones. They don't understand. Humans have been hunting since before we could walk upright. We hunted animals 10 times our size. We hunted them with rocks and sharpened sticks. We hunted them until they went extinct. He looked at his sister, and for the first time, he smiled. They think they're the predators. They're wrong. Every predator on Earth learned to fear humans. Every single one. Now these aliens will learn the same lesson. Minji stared at him. You think we can beat them? Junho looked at the stars through a small window. Somewhere out there was a jungle world where he and his people would be hunted like animals. I don't think we can beat them, he said. I know we will. Because we're not prey. We never were. We're the most dangerous hunters the universe has ever seen. And they just made us angry. The ship changed course, heading toward Thornwood. The hunt was about to begin, but the Vorn had no idea who they were really hunting. The dropship opened its doors and pushed the humans out onto the jungle floor. 52 people fell into mud and leaves, coughing, struggling to stand. Before anyone could speak, the ship rose into the sky and disappeared above the thick canopy of trees. They were alone. Thornwood was a nightmare made real. The trees were massive, reaching hundreds of meters into the sky. Their trunks were covered with thorns as long as a human arm. Strange sounds came from every direction, clicks, screams, growls. The air was thick and wet, making it hard to breathe. Everything smelled like rot and danger. Some of the colonists sat in the mud and cried. Others stood frozen, unable to move. A woman named Yoonji screamed when something with too many legs crawled past her foot. Junho did not cry. He did not freeze. He was already moving. Everyone, gather around, he called out. His voice was calm but firm. We have 24 hours before they come for us. We are not going to waste a single minute. An older man named Dongwu shook his head. What's the point? We have nothing. No weapons, no food, no shelter. We're gonna die no matter what we do. No, Junho said. We're not. Listen to me carefully. I spent 12 years teaching soldiers how to survive in places like this. I can teach you too, but I need everyone to focus. Can you do that? Slowly, the crying stopped. People looked at him with desperate hope in their eyes. They needed someone to tell them what to do. They needed a leader. Junho pointed at his sister. Minji is a biologist. She's going to study everything on this planet. The plants, the animals, the water. She'll figure out what we can eat, what we can use, and what we need to avoid. He pointed at a quiet man with glasses. Taiwu, you're an engineer. I need you to start thinking about traps. Pits, nets, anything that can slow down or stop something bigger than us. Taiwu nodded slowly. I can do that. I'll need materials. You'll have them. This jungle is full of materials. We just need to know how to use them. He pointed at a woman with kind eyes. Su Yang, you're a doctor. I need you to learn everything you can about the Vorn. When we captured a look at them, did you notice anything? Weak points? Soft spots? Su Yang thought for a moment. Their eyes looked sensitive, and under their arms, where the armor didn't cover, the skin seemed thinner there. Good. Keep thinking. Find more weaknesses. Finally, he pointed at a young man, barely 20 years old, with strong arms and steady hands. Jiho, the record said you were a competitive archer back on Earth. Is that true? Jiho nodded. I won 3 national championships. Can you shoot something that isn't a target? Jiho's face hardened. Point me at something that needs killing, and I'll kill it. Junho allowed himself a small smile. Good. Everyone else, listen to me. We're going to split into groups. Some will gather food and water. Some will find materials for weapons. Some will scout the area and find the best places to defend or attack from. He paused and looked at each of them. The Vorn think we're helpless without our tools. They're wrong. Humans have been making tools since the beginning of time. Give us rocks and we'll make knives. Give us sticks and we'll make spears. Give us vines and we'll make traps. We don't need fancy technology to survive. We just need our hands and our brains. The next 24 hours were the busiest of their lives. Minji explored the jungle with a small team, cataloging everything she found. She discovered plants with leaves sharp enough to cut skin, berries that cause paralysis, and vines strong enough to hold a grown man's weight. She found insects whose bites made flesh burn and flowers whose pollen caused blindness. This planet is trying to kill everything on it, she reported back. But that means we can use it to kill things too. Taiwo worked without rest. He built pit traps lined with sharpened stakes. He created tripwires that triggered falling logs. He designed nets that would drop from trees and trap anything underneath. He made snares that would catch legs and hang victims upside down. The jungle is my workshop, he said, wiping sweat from his face. These aliens have no idea what's waiting for them. Su Yang examined every piece of information they had about the Vorn. She studied their body structure, their movements, their armor. She found gaps in their protection, under the arms, behind the knees, at the base of the skull. They're tough, she admitted, but they're not invincible. Hit them in the right place, and they'll die like anything else. Jiho practiced with a bow he made from a flexible branch and a string woven from plant fibers. His arrows were straight sticks with tips hardened in fire. He shot target after target until his aim was perfect. I never thought I'd be hunting something that hunted me, he said. But I'm ready. By the time the sun began to set, the colonists had transformed. They carried spears and clubs. They knew where the traps were hidden. They had eaten and drunk from safe sources. They had found caves and hiding spots throughout the jungle. They were no longer scared settlers. They were survivors. They were fighters. As darkness fell, Junho gathered everyone together one last time. In a few hours, the Vorn will come. They'll expect to find us running and crying and begging for mercy. They'll expect easy prey. He picked up a spear, a simple weapon, just a sharpened stick, but in his hands, it looked deadly. They're going to find something very different. They're going to find humans. And by the time this is over, they're going to understand why every predator on Earth learned to fear us. Above them, in orbit around the planet, the Vorn mothership prepared for the hunt. 50 elite hunters checked their weapons and armor. They laughed and joked about how quickly they would catch the soft humans. Hi, Hunter Kreeth watched the jungle through a screen. He saw heat signatures moving, spreading out, taking positions. He frowned slightly. The prey was not behaving normally. Most species huddled together and waited to die. These humans were doing something else. His second-in-command noticed his expression. Is something wrong, High Hunter? Kreeth shook his head. Nothing. They are just animals organizing their last moments. It changes nothing. But deep in his mind, a small voice whispered a warning. A voice he ignored. Dawn came to Thornwood. The Vorn dropships descended through the clouds. The hunt began, and the humans were ready. The first Vorn hunter died before his feet touched the ground. He jumped from the dropship, confident and eager for the kill. He landed on what looked like solid ground covered with leaves. It was not solid ground. It was a thin layer of branches, hiding a deep pit filled with sharpened stakes. The hunter screamed as he fell. The scream stopped suddenly when he hit the bottom. Above the pit, hidden in the trees, Taiwo watched with cold satisfaction. 1 down, he whispered. 49 to go. The other hunters heard their companions scream. They approached the pit carefully, looking down at the body of their fellow Vorn. He had been killed by sticks. Sharpened sticks are stuck in the ground. The simplest trap in the universe. Impossible, one of them muttered. The prey killed one of us with sticks? They did not have time to think about it. A vine snapped. A heavy log swung down from the trees with terrible speed. It hit a hunter in the chest and sent him flying into a tree trunk. The impact broke his spine. 2 down. The Vorn spread out, suddenly cautious. Their confidence was fading. They had hunted 1,000 species across 100 worlds. No prey had ever fought back like this, but the worst was yet to come. Jiho waited in the branches of a massive tree, his bow drawn, an arrow ready. He watched the hunters move through the jungle below. They were big and scary, covered in armor made from bones. But they were also slow. They did not look up. Humans always looked up. Humans knew that danger could come from any direction. These aliens had never needed to learn that lesson. Jiho picked his target, a hunter walking slightly apart from the others. He aimed for the gap under the arm, where Su Yang said the skin was soft. He released the arrow. It flew silent and straight, punching through the soft tissue and into the hunter's heart. The Vorn fell without a sound. His companions did not notice for almost a minute. When they finally saw the body, they panicked. They fired their plasma weapons into the trees, burning leaves and branches. But Jiho was already gone, moving through the canopy like a shadow, ready to strike again. 3 down. Then 4. Then 5. The hunters began to group together, afraid to be alone. This made them easier to trap. Taiwu had prepared for this. He had built a special trap for groups, a net woven from the strongest vines on the planet, hidden under leaves, triggered by pressure. 8 hunters stepped onto the trap at once. The net exploded upward, catching them all, tangling their arms and legs, hanging them from the trees like fish in a net. They struggled and screamed, but they could not escape. Junho emerged from the shadows with 10 other humans. They carried spears tipped with poison from the berries Minji had found. One by one, they stabbed the trapped hunters through the gaps in their armor. 8 more down. Kreeth received the reports on his personal communicator. Hunter after hunter, falling silent. Traps everywhere. Prey that attacked instead of running. He could not believe what he was hearing. They are animals, he growled. They are weak, stupid animals. How are they doing this? His second-in-command, a hunter named Veth, looked nervous. Perhaps we should call back the hunting party, regroup, plan a new approach. No. Kreith grabbed his weapon, a massive plasma cannon that had killed creatures 10 times the size of a human. I will go down myself. I will show these animals what a real predator looks like. He took a drop ship to the surface, landing in a clearing near the river. He moved into the jungle alone, following the trail of human footprints. He was the greatest hunter in the galaxy. He would not be defeated by soft creatures with no claws. He found a human by the river. A woman, small and alone, kneeling by the water. She looked up when she heard him coming. Fear filled her eyes. Kreith smiled. Finally, prey that behaved properly. Do not run, he said, walking toward her slowly. It will only make the end more painful. Stay still, and I will make it quick. The woman Minji did not run. She stayed exactly where she was, frozen with terror. Kreith was 3 steps away when he heard a sound behind him. A soft sound, like feet landing on leaves. He turned, raising his weapon. He was too slow. Taiwu dropped from the tree above, driving a stone knife into the gap at the base of Kreith's skull. The blade was not long enough to kill instantly, but it was enough to make the high hunter stumble, enough to make him drop his weapon. 3 more humans emerged from hiding. They had been waiting for hours, using Minji as bait. They carried spears and clubs, simple weapons that should have been useless against Vorn armor. But they knew where to strike. Junho appeared last. He picked up Kreith's fallen plasma cannon and pointed it at the alien's face. Kreith lay on the ground, bleeding from multiple wounds. He stared up at the humans surrounding him. These soft, weak creatures had beaten him. They had outfought him, and now they stood over him like he was the prey. What are you? He gasped. Junho crouched beside him. We're humans. I know you think we're weak because we don't have natural weapons. But that's exactly why we're dangerous. We don't need claws because we learned to make knives. We don't need fangs because we learned to make spears. We don't need armor because we learned to make traps. He leaned closer to the dying hunter. Every creature on our home world that tried to hunt us, we hunted back. We hunted them so well that most of them went extinct. Wolves, bears, tigers, lions, we killed them all. Not because we had better bodies, because we had better minds. Kreith's eyes were fading. You are not prey. No, Junho said. We're the thing that prey has nightmares about. We're the reason Earth has no more apex predators. Because we killed them all. And now, we're going to kill you. He stood up and looked at the other humans. Leave him. Let him die knowing the truth. We have more hunters to deal with. They disappeared into the jungle, leaving Kreith alone with his thoughts. The greatest hunter in the galaxy, killed by creatures with sticks and stones and minds that never stopped thinking. His last thought, before darkness took him, was a warning that came too late. Humans were not prey. They were the most dangerous predators the universe had ever seen. The news of Kreith's death spread through the Vorm fleet like fire through dry grass. The greatest hunter in their history, killed by soft creatures on a jungle world. It seemed impossible. It had to be a trick, a mistake, a lie. But the body did not lie. When they recovered it, they saw the wounds, stone blades, sharpened sticks, simple weapons that should have been nothing against Vorn armor. Yet somehow, they had been enough. Commander Veth took control of the fleet. He was not as bold as Kreith, not as confident. He had seen the reports. He had watched the footage of hunters falling into pits, being struck by arrows from nowhere, being swarmed by creatures that should have been helpless. He made a decision. If 50 hunters could not defeat these humans, he would send 200. Overwhelming force. No more games, no more sport. Just extermination. 200 Vorn dropped onto Thornwood as the sun rose on the 3rd day. They came in tight groups, weapons ready, eyes watching every direction. They would not be caught by simple traps. They would not be ambushed by primitives with sticks. They were wrong. The humans had not been sleeping. They had spent the night preparing new surprises. They had captured weapons from the dead hunters, plasma rifles, energy blades, grenades. They had studied them, learned how they worked, and distributed them among the best fighters. More importantly, they had learned how the Vorn communicated. Taiwu had taken a communicator from a dead hunter and spent hours figuring out its signals. He could not speak the Vorn language, but he could send false commands, fake emergencies, phantom signals that would confuse and divide the enemy. "They're coming in 4 groups," he reported to Junho. 20 in the north, 30 in the east, 50 in the south, and 100 near the river. "They think if they spread out, we can't trap them all." Junho smiled. "They're thinking like hunters. We need to make them think like prey." The first attack came at noon. Jiho led a team of 10 humans armed with captured plasma rifles. They ambushed the northern group from multiple directions, firing and moving, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted. The Vorn fired back, but they hit only trees and shadows. The humans were ghosts, appearing for a second, killing, and vanishing. When the northern group tried to regroup, they found that half their number was already dead. In the east, Minji led a different kind of attack. She had collected samples from the most dangerous plants on the planet, poison berries, blinding pollen, burning sap. Her team used these natural weapons against the Vorn, coating arrows and spears with deadly substances. A hunter hit by a poison arrow would not die immediately. He would stumble, lose control of his limbs, fall to the ground, and shake while his nerves burned. His screams would terrify his companions, break their concentration, and make them easy targets for the next attack. In the south, Taiwo activated his master trap. He had spent 2 days building it, a network of tripwires, falling logs, swinging branches, and hidden pits that covered an entire section of jungle. When the Vorn group entered the area, he triggered it all at once. The jungle seemed to come alive. Trees fell. Logs swung. The ground opened up. Hunters who had conquered 1,000 worlds died screaming, killed by wood and stone and the genius of a human engineer. But the largest group, the 100 hunters near the river, was different. They moved slowly and carefully, watching every step. Their commander had learned from the others' deaths. He would not be caught by traps. Junho had expected this. He had saved his best weapon for them. Suyao had spent days studying Vorn biology. She knew their weak points, their vulnerabilities. But she had also discovered something interesting. The Vorn were deeply afraid of their own dead. In their culture, a hunter killed by prey was cursed. His spirit would wander forever, never finding peace. The humans had collected the bodies of fallen Vorn. Now they displayed them along the path the 100 hunters were taking. Bodies hung from trees. Bodies propped against rocks. Bodies arranged in patterns that meant something terrible in Vorn culture. The hunters saw their fallen brothers and stopped. Some made signs against evil. Others refused to go forward. The commander screamed at them to keep moving, but fear had taken hold. These humans were not just killing Vorn. They were destroying their spirits, cursing them for eternity, while the hunters argued among themselves. Junho's main force attacked. 50 humans armed with captured weapons and homemade spears struck from every direction. They did not fight fair. They did not give warnings. They killed quickly, efficiently, and without mercy. The battle lasted less than an hour. When it ended, 160 Vorn lay dead on the jungle floor. The survivors, fewer than 40, fled toward the emergency extraction point. Junho let them go. He wanted survivors. He wanted them to return to their ship and tell the others what had happened. On the mothership, Veth watched the footage in horror. He saw his hunters falling like insects being stepped on. He saw humans moving through the jungle like they were born there. He saw creatures who had been prey 3 days ago now hunting with cold, perfect efficiency. "This is not possible," he whispered. "They are soft. They are weak. How are they doing this?" An officer approached him nervously. "Sub-Commander, we should use the orbital weapons. Destroy the jungle from space. Kill them all." Veth nodded. Yes, that was the answer. If he could not hunt them fairly, he would burn them from existence. He reached for the weapons control panel. The screen went dark. What happened? He demanded. "Why are the weapons offline?" An engineer checked the systems and went pale. "Someone has hacked our main computer. The weapons are locked. Navigation is locked. Life support is still working, but barely." Veth stared at the screen. "Who? How?" A face appeared on every monitor in the ship. A human face. "Junho Kang. You wanted to hunt us," Junho said. "Now we're hunting you. You have 1 hour to abandon your ship and leave this system. Your escape pods still work. Your weapons do not. If you're still here when the hour ends, we're coming up there to finish what we started." Veth looked at his crew. They were hunters, the best in the galaxy. They had never run from anything, but today, they ran. The escape pods launched, carrying the remaining Vorn away from Thornwood, away from the nightmare that had consumed their hunting party. They left behind their ship, their weapons, their pride. On the surface, the humans watched the pods disappear into the distance. They had won. 52 soft, weak creatures had defeated the greatest hunters in the galaxy. Junho put his arm around his sister. "It's over. We survived." Minji looked up at the stars. "It's not over. They'll tell others what happened here. The whole galaxy will know." Junho nodded slowly. "Good. Let them know. Let them all know what happens when you try to hunt humans." The Vorn ship hung empty in orbit, waiting to be claimed. The hunters had become the hunted, and the galaxy would never see humans the same way again. The story spread across the galaxy like wildfire. At first, no one believed it. The Vorn were the greatest hunters in known space. They had conquered thousands of species. They had never been defeated. The idea that soft, clawless humans could destroy them seemed like a joke. But the survivors told their story. Veth told his story. And slowly, the galaxy began to understand that something had changed. Other species started sharing their own experiences with humans. Stories that had been whispered in shadows for years now came into the open. The Drath remembered the human trader whose family was killed by pirates. He spent 3 years hunting those pirates across the galaxy. He found every single one. He killed them in ways that made other criminals afraid to even speak his name. The Kalori remembered an ambassador who insulted a human diplomat at a formal dinner. The human smiled politely and said nothing. 5 years later, the ambassador had lost his position, his fortune, his reputation, and his family. The human had destroyed his entire life without ever raising a weapon. He had used words, connections, and patience, weapons the Kalori did not even recognize as weapons. The myth remembered when their world was invaded by a powerful empire. They begged the galaxy for help. Only the humans answered. A small human fleet arrived, outnumbered 10 to 1. They should have been destroyed in minutes. They won in hours. The human commanders studied the enemy's tactics, found their weaknesses, and exploited them with terrifying precision. When it was over, the invading empire did not just lose the battle. They lost their entire military capability. The humans had been so thorough that the empire never recovered. "They are not like other species," a myth elder said. "They do not fight for honor or glory. They fight to win. They fight to make sure their enemies can never threaten them again. They are kind until they are not. And when they stop being kind, nothing in the universe can stop them. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. Representatives from 200 species gathered to discuss what they called the human problem. They are too dangerous, argued the Calori ambassador. They should be contained, restricted, controlled before they become a threat to us all. How do you propose we control them? Asked a Drath representative. Attack them? Look what happened to the Vorn. Look what happens to everyone who attacks humans. The debate went on for days. Some wanted to isolate humanity. Some wanted to make alliances with them. Some wanted to pretend nothing had changed. Then a human ambassador arrived. Her name was Naoung Choi. She was small, even for a human, with a soft voice and a gentle smile. She walked into the great hall alone, wearing simple clothing, carrying no weapons. Every species in the room watched her with fear. She stood at the center of the hall and looked around at the gathered representatives. Her smile never wavered. I know why you called this meeting, she said. You are afraid of us. You heard what happened on Thornwood, and you realize something that makes you uncomfortable. She paused, letting the silence grow. You realize that humans are not the harmless traitors you thought we were. You realize that we have always been dangerous. We simply chose not to show it. The Calori ambassador stood. You admit you are a threat. Then we are right to want to contain you. Naoung turned to face him. Her smile did not change, but something in her eyes made the ambassador sit back down. Let me tell you a story, she said. Long ago, on our home world, there was a predator called a wolf. Wolves were fast, strong, and deadly. They hunted in packs, and nothing could stand against them. She walked slowly around the hall, making eye contact with each species. Humans had no claws, no fangs, no armor. We were weaker than wolves in every way, but we watched them. We learned their patterns. We studied their weaknesses. And then we did something no other prey had ever done. She stopped in the center of the hall. We tamed them. We turned the most dangerous predator on our planet into our loyal companions. We did not do this through strength. We did it through patience, intelligence, and understanding. She spread her hands. That is what humans are. We do not want to be your enemies. We do not want to hunt you or conquer you. We want to live in peace. We want to trade, to explore, to learn. We want to be your friends. The hall was silent. But, she continued, her voice growing harder, if you try to cage us, if you try to control us, if you try to hunt us like Devorn did, you will discover the other side of humanity. The side that tamed wolves. The side that killed every apex predator on our planet. The side that turns peaceful farmers into unstoppable warriors. She looked directly at the Calori ambassador. Ask the Vorn what happens when humans stop being friendly. Oh wait, you cannot. There are not enough of them left to ask. No one spoke. No one moved. Naoung's smile returned, warm and genuine. We are offering friendship. We are offering peace. Take it, and you will find no better allies in the galaxy. We will protect you, help you, stand beside you against any threat. Her eyes swept the room one final time. Reject it, and you will learn why we are the only species on our world that never needed to evolve natural weapons. We did not need them. We were always the most dangerous thing there. She bowed politely and walked out of the hall. The council voted unanimously to accept peaceful relations with humanity. Years later, on a quiet farming world at the edge of human space, Junho Kang worked in his fields. His sister Minji lived next door with her husband and 2 children. Their colony had grown from 52 survivors to thousands of peaceful settlers. Sometimes, travelers passed through and recognized Junho's name. They asked him about Thornwood. They asked him what it felt like to defeat the greatest hunters in the galaxy with sticks and stones. He always gave the same answer. We did not defeat them because we were stronger. We defeated them because they did not understand what humans really are. They saw our soft bodies and thought we were weak. They did not see the 10,000 years of survival that made us who we are. He would look at his fields, his home, his peaceful life. We are the friendliest species in the galaxy. We help anyone who needs help. We share what we have. We welcome strangers as friends. Then his eyes would grow distant, remembering the jungle, remembering the hunt. But we are only friendly because we choose to be. Push us too hard, and we remember what we truly are. We remember that we are the children of hunters. We remember that nothing in the universe has ever successfully preyed on humanity and survived. He would smile then, the same calm smile he had worn when facing Kreeth in the jungle. We are nice because we can afford to be, because nothing is strong enough to make us be anything else. The traveler would nod nervously and leave quickly, and Junho would return to his farming, a peaceful man on a peaceful world, surrounded by people who slept safely, because the galaxy had learned to leave humans alone. The hunt was over. Humanity had won. And they had won by being exactly what they had always been, the most adaptable, persistent, and terrifying predators the universe had ever seen. Predators who chose to be kind until someone gave them a reason not to be.